And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and welcome to the Dice Tower. Today we're taking a look at a game called A War of Whispers, which, by the way, is a really cool name. I like A War of Whispers. In this game, there are 5 realms that are attacking each other. But you ain't one of those realms. You are someone behind the power, someone behind a throne, someone saying, I think you should do this, because you want some kingdoms to do well and some to fail. This is not a new theme. This has been in games before, but I tend to like this sort of theme. Let's see how the game plays. So at the beginning of the game, each kingdom has their own areas here that they control. Even if you don't have any banners in an area, if it has your colors, you control it. If someone else's banner in it, they control it. Except not you and they. These are the 5 kingdoms that are out there. You'll notice that there's a very asymmetrical setup. The horseman area don't even start with anyone on the board, while the blue has bigger armies. Each player is instead going to be one of the different factions that's in the game. We got the Pale Raven, and the Cult of the Rat, and the Supplicant Spider, and the Endless Serpent. And at the beginning of the game, you're going to put a disc randomly on these spots here. These are the different armies you want. So I want the Horsemen to do the best. At the end of the game, for every city the Horsemen control, I'm going to get 4 points. And I want the Red to do the worst. Every city that they control, I will lose a point at the end of the game. The game takes place over 4 rounds, and each round follows the same thing. Players are going to be placing out different people on a turn. They're agents that they have, and you can place them in one of 4 different spots: Sheriff, Steward, Marshal, or Chancellor, for each of the different spots. Each turn you're going to place out 2 of these people. Now those people are going to stay there from time to time. So after everyone has placed all theirs out, you're then going to go through, take the actions. In round 2, everyone has to take one of their people off, and then you're going to put 2 more out. So there's going to be even more people out in the second round of the game. So each person will have 3 agents out until all the spots are filled. Once you've put out your agents for each round, you'll start with the blue kingdom over here, and you're going to go through each of the different spots. So here, for example, the orange player put it on the sheriff. They'll take the sheriff actions. Nobody put it on the steward. So if no one puts it on the steward, then the person who's the next person over to the right, in this case the white player, will take the steward action, the marshal action, and the chancellor action. Now, if there had been nobody here, then nobody would get it. And if the white player had been here, then the orange player would have taken this action, the white player would have taken these 2 actions, and no one would have taken this action. When we come over here to the red spot, you'll see orange takes the first action, then gray takes the second, and then orange takes the next 2. In this section here, white takes the first action, then purple. No one gets the last 2. Here, purple gets 1, gray gets 2. Here, purple gets 1, white gets 2. Now, the different actions are all very similar, but they're going to do the same thing for the most part. Sometimes there's multiple actions and you pick which one. Sometimes they're going to allow you to put more banners on the board. This one says you can put a banner out for every farm that this person controls. So this is the blue player. So I'll look in the blue territories that they control right now. There's a farm here and a farm here. 2 farms, so they can put 2 banners out. So maybe they'll put a banner here, and they'll put one here. You can put them in the same territory in different territories. You can also make an attack. So that's what the underneath here, you'll see this symbol here. It means you can pick one army and make an attack with it. Now, you always have to leave one person behind unless it's your own territory. In this case, they're going to hit here. So 3 blues come in against 2 oranges, but since there's a defensive tower there, it's as if the defenders have an extra banner, and then they replace 1 for 1, so in this case, they'd all wipe each other out. If there had been a 4th blue banner, now blue would control the area. So there are 3 different things on the board. There are farms, and there are towers, and then there are cities. Cities are what you're trying to control for the end of the game. Farms allow you to have 6 units in an area, usually at the end of a round. You have to go down to supply, down to 4, and towers give you defense against the attackers, even if you have nobody in that area. And each of these spots here is going to allow you to add troops to the board, add banners depending on different symbols, attack, Or sometimes they'll let you draw cards. Each group has their own cards that come with them. These are cards that you can play to do various things. Like this one says, move the active agent to any empty position and take that position immediately. I need one red symbol to do that, but this card counts as that red symbol. Here, if I'm using an attack, I could target any empty enemy region. But I need 2 red symbols, so I need to use this card and discard another card with that symbol. And here, I need a red and a brown symbol, and I can attack any region on the map with my armada. So these cards, as you collect them, can help you do all sorts of things. Let's take a look at some of the green ones here, for example. Here I can add a banner to my attack, add 3. Or if I play it with a blue, I can add 3 friendly banners in an empty region. Here I can add 4 to any empty region without a city or fort. So each of these has its own thing. Like the horseman gives you maneuverability. These give you bonuses in attacking. So there's a lot of interesting things here. Also, the last spot in an area. So let's say white had been here in the chancellor's position. One of the things you can do is you can switch with another spot and take that action instead of the action of the chancellor. That's pretty much the game. You're just going to go around each round, putting these more agents on the board, taking these different actions, removing a couple agents, and trying to have different people control cities. At the end of the game, you're going to get points. But in between rounds, you can expose and swap loyalties. Let's say I'm not happy with red, or I want to start being with red. I can switch red with green, for example. But if I do a switch like that, I have to then expose them and show everybody what I'm doing. So you can switch 2 of them in between rounds, but then you give that information up to everybody else. At the end of the game, you simply multiply all these out, and whoever has the highest score is the winner. Now, I often try to show people the base game, and then there's sometimes a deluxe edition to a game. In this case, unfortunately, I have to tell you, this is the deluxe version. You know, you have these cool little thrones that you place out here. There's some nice plastic pieces, but the regular one just has you placing out these tiles as agents instead. These little banners are just cubes in the base edition. There's also some extra cards that are included in the full edition here. Some of them are like treasures, which count as a wild symbol, and some will have some sort of, when you draw them, there's some sort of event that happens. And all that comes in the quote-unquote deluxe version, and it still isn't that deluxe. I wouldn't consider this deluxe at all. Looks like a normal game. So I would not even hunt down it. As it is, I don't think these components are that fantastic. The cards are good. The art is nice, although they, on these cards, no matter what the card says, they tend to reuse it over and over and over in the cards. That's fine, but this doesn't. The game tends to have a bit of a generic look to it. I like the round board. I don't mind playing on this, but it doesn't feel like it's any kind of unique fantasy land. The components for this are okay. Okay, I want to be clear from the beginning. I enjoy this game and had a lot of fun playing it, and I like it. But there is some problems with it. I already mentioned the components weren't as nice as I'd like them to be. I also have a problem with the rule book itself. Some of the very basic rules of the game. For example, you place an agent each turn, then players will, or you pull an agent from the board each turn, then you place 2. The way that's worded is extremely confusing, and I had to look it up online to figure out how to do it. We didn't know if we pulled one, then put one. We didn't know why we had 9 of them, although if there is a version where you could put some out as cities if you play the advanced version, but even still, we couldn't figure that out. I finally had to look it up online, and just a few minor things. For a game that's this simple, I thought the rules could have been vastly better. They were just not very good. I did get it at the end, I think. The cover art's fantastic, but again, so the component quality in that. Then there's also the problem that could happen since you randomly pick those things at the beginning. It's possible 3 players could want brown to do well, and the other player wants brown to fail. That player could figure out, oh, maybe I should catch up to everyone else. But it might be too late for her then, but she's just kind of behind the curveball. She can switch them, but at that point, everybody will see, oh, well, you've switched to brown. You know what I mean? It's sometimes a lot of people are working with one and one person's working against, and by the time you figure that out, it's just not as advantageous to you. I don't think this is a big problem in the game, but it might bother some people. Also, because of the multiplication, because people are working together and stuff, I found scores are often close. It's a little artificial that they're close because by very nature, if several people want one color to do well, that color is going to do well. That being said, placing the agents out and having, if no one is in the spot next to you, the ability to do both actions is really cool. Go to the Chancellor position. You get all 4 actions. And then all someone has to do is go right next to you in the 3rd position. Now you get 1 action and they get 3. So there's a bit of meanness to placing those, which I really enjoyed. I liked the going around. I liked that the 5 different kingdoms were slightly asymmetrical. The horsemen start with nobody, but they also start with the most cities. Blue has the most troops, but they start with 1 city. They're going to have to do a lot of attacking. And how the cards shake things up, but not too much. Combat's very straightforward. This just feels like a classic game. Now, it feels like a classic game from the 90s, the way it's all set up and all, but that doesn't make it bad. There's some cool ideas here, and if you like that idea of the dudes on a map war where you're not actually the pieces, but you're kind of controlling them, and sometimes you'll cause 2 armies to obliterate each other just because you don't want to see either one of them do well, that's fascinating stuff. It also doesn't take that long. I want to say it's about, once everyone knows what they're doing, about an hour to play. So there's some cool concepts here. It could have been better, yes. As it is, though, a really solid game, a War of Whispers. Dice Tower Judgment approved!